Welcome to Sporty Dosage with me, your host, Joseph Yose Migelo. Now, today we're talking about an interesting topic that has made a lot of noise recently in the Zambian Super League. Yes, before I even open up about what we're talking about today, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share with your friends. Copy the link and share with your friends. Don't miss out on anything on Sporty Dosage. Hit subscribe and hit the bell button never to miss an episode. Now, today we're talking about something interesting. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking about the Usakile Darby, the Kitwe Derby between Nkana Football Club and Power Dynamos. Of course, many of you might expect me to say who's going to win and who's not going to win this game. Of course, this derby is always fiery. There's always a lot of noise, compact around. Arthur Davies would be full, Nkana Stadium would be full. But hey, today I'm talking about the proposed moving of the game from Nkana Stadium, which Nkana, the host of the first encounter between the two this season, to Levy Mwanawasa Stadium. Of course, it's a plus, and again, it's a loss for both teams. Look, the main reason why some people would say why the move was actually thought of, moving the game from Nkana Stadium to Levy Mwanawasa Stadium, was the fact that Levy Mwanawasa Stadium is kind of bigger, like let me say just big, around 60,000 capacity seater, and the infrastructure there is much more modern. It's more like the organizers felt like the Kitwe Derby has outgrown both the Nkana Stadium and the Arthur Davies Stadium, of which in those lines, if you look at the ticketing and the amount of people that you would host in a stadium, that's a lot of money that you would get at the end of the day. Yeah, but here's the downside about that idea. One, Nkana and Power Dynamos get to lose out on how many fans would turn up from Usakile, from Kitwe itself, to move from Kitwe to Ndola. How many fans are able to afford the transportation? Firstly. Secondly, how would it feel a derby atmosphere away from its particular roots, from where it started from? People would say, no, the Kitwe Derby has outgrown the Nkana Stadium and Arthur Davies. Yes, it has outgrown those two stadiums, and that's the truth. But moving it to Ndola as well, for the Levy Mwanawasa Stadium as well, yes, a good idea, but it's a wrong one for the derby. You know, what makes a derby so interesting is the fact that they get to connect with the fans where they come from. You see, so someone would ask, what is the way forward? Then what should both sides do? Since Levy Mwanawasa Stadium is off the picture, people are saying if the derby was to be hosted at Nkana Stadium or Arthur Davies Stadium, the numbers would be so much. There are risks of stampede and all that. Yeah, it's the truth, but there's so many solutions to go around that, long term and short term. Now, before I start, I'll start with the short term solutions and go to the long term one. But before I do that, hit the subscribe button, share, and like this video. Now, in the short run, both teams, or in particular the host team, in this case being Nkana Football Club hosting Power Dynamos, they can agree, they can make up a ticketing system that would work in such a way that they would allocate a certain number of tickets, make the tickets limited, you know, to the capacity the stadium can hold. Don't overcrowd. Don't just make tickets with the fact that it's a derby, we'll make tickets to make money. Make tickets to the capacity the stadium can hold. So if they want to sell some tickets to Power Dynamos fans, of course they can do that. They can say, oh, we are going to allocate around maybe 4,000, 5,000 or 7,000 tickets to Power Dynamos fans. The remaining 7,000 will allocate them to Nkana Football Club fans. You make a limitation on that. Then you pre-sell those tickets like a week before you start selling them online, if possible, or select sell points around Kitwe. Then you'll be able to know that you've sold out. If all the sell points, they no longer have those tickets, and you are sure that you've sold out, and that will reduce on the number of people trying to stampede at the Nkana Stadium, and it also creates a normal way of sanity. It's very bad trying to buy a ticket in such a big game at the gates. Like, it creates anxiety for people trying, let me buy a ticket, or let me buy a ticket on that particular day. So let them start a pre-sale process, like 2 weeks before or a week before the Derby game starts. Like, it just shows so much maturity. It shows so much maturity and level of organization that would come in place. So that's one short-term measure. Another one is they can also try to, like, for example, we've seen it so much that most fans would fill in the stadium around 12 hours, 13 hours. And that would create a huge commotion. Like, the stadium is full 3 hours before the game and all that. Another short-term measure, like I mentioned, like, they can either decide to say, no, how about this? How about we start co-hosting the match? Both teams can decide, like the way the Ndola Stadium idea was. But unfortunately, in Kitwe, there is no such modern stadium. It's only in Ndola, of which it's already out of the picture. So we're going to go to the long-term solutions. Now, long-term solution is either both sides to invest in modern infrastructure. That Derby has outgrown the number of people it can host in Nkana Stadium or even Arthur Davis Stadium. Look, the Cairo Derby between Zamalek and Al Ahly, it's so huge, like really huge. That God play it in Dubai for commercial purposes and all that, commercializing the Derby. And yes, they earn some money out of that. But look at the stadium, the Bogle Arabo, the Cairo International Stadium, how much it gets to be full when it's that Derby. The Manchester Derby, of course, it gets to be full. People say it has outgrown even Manchester City, the city of Manchester. It's similar to the Soweto Derby in South Africa, Orlando Pirates and Al Ahly. So derbies are slowly outgrowing where they were founded from. So it takes a lot of initiative by clubs now to build modern stadia, especially in Nkana in particular and Power Dynamo. Now, how will they build this stadium in the long run? It's possible. Someone say no, it costs a lot of money. Yes, it costs money to build stadia. It costs money to invest in infrastructure. But hey, both Nkana and Power Dynamos, these are big brands. You see, these are big brands. They can easily put up a project and sell it off to say, we are making a stadium. That is number one. They can, like, selling of naming rights. Number one, they can sell off naming rights. Both teams can just say, oh, okay, as Nkana, we're building a stadium, a new project, or facilitating the expansion of Nkana Stadium, but we don't have the money to do this. We're selling off naming rights for this stadium for any people to be willing to come in and invest to build a stadium. We'll give you advertising space and so on and so forth. Who would refuse Nkana with that huge fan base? Who would refuse to take advantage of potential marketing points to help Nkana build the stadium? You see, or help Power Dynamos build the stadium. Secondly, they can either go for a mortgage. Now people ask, why? What is a mortgage? Like in layman's term, or just a simple term, or just say mortgage is more like financing or building a house using other people's money, like banks and financial institutions. Now, both Nkana and Power Dynamos, I've mentioned this, these teams are big brands. They can either both go to, like, the well-known Zambia National Building Society. They can go there, ask for a mortgage. The mortgage rate is around 24%. Disclaimer, I'm not advertising for Zambia National Building Society. It's just one of the suggestions I would have. Or there are many other financial institutions that can offer a mortgage. It's up to them which one they would want to choose. So they can go there and say, no, we want to build or reconstruct a stadium, Nkana Stadium, Arthur Davis Stadium. This is how much we want to work on this. Or maybe it's 2 million kwacha, 5 million kwacha, 25 million kwacha. They can say we will pay this mortgage off maybe 30 years, 25 years, all that. Gives them time to work on it. And they can even sell the naming rights to the same institution where they get the mortgage from. So that's one way they can get to build infrastructure and finance reconstruction or expanding or modernizing infrastructure at these stadiums. Thirdly, but not the least, both teams can come together, make one modern stadium and share the cost, and they share the home ground. We've seen teams like Inter Milan and AC Milan, they share the home ground. It's possible for Nkana and Power Dynamos to share a home ground. They can use Nkana Stadium, they can use Arthur Davis Stadium as their training pitches. Then for home games, they can share the main stadium. They would come together and build their stadium. They can say, no, us will be playing our home games on Saturday, us will be playing our home games on Sunday. It's even better now for fans like playing and coming to watch in a bigger stadium where both teams have come together to build that stadium. So it's just one of those one or two things what this kind of situation has thrown in for both Nkana and Power Dynamos. This situation is a challenge, but there is a lot of benefits if this challenge is solved. So hit the subscribe button never to miss any episode from Sporty Dosage. Hit the notification bell, share this video with your friends, and thank you very much. As I said earlier, this is Yose. Thank you. Always get the dosage.